You're inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running African. Our subtopics this morning: COVID-19, the global reset, Corona, the favored virus of the crown, SARS-CoV-2, how the coronavirus is being used to justify a global financial reset, and many in between. I want to go to the phone lines now to talk to my friend and sister, Dr. Pauline Williams-Green, family physician, who my sister from another mother. Good morning, Dr. Pauline Williams-Green. How are you doing?
I'm so well. Good morning to you, my sister, and to your listeners.
Right. What interesting times we're living in, Dr. Pauline.
Very much so. We have got to go back to basics.
To basics. And, yes. I've been thinking about that. I think about the bamboo tree. And my mother, over bush up in Hopewell there. And I want to say good morning to Professor Vereen Shepherd, because she know about them bamboo tree up in St. Mary, because this is where I'm saying, wow, if you get into the panic, then this is how you're feeling that, oh, well, I've got to go back home. I've got to move myself from here. But so many issues. One of the issues that you've raised, and I want to talk to you a little bit about, is that the role that smoking plays, because we're talking about how do we protect ourselves from a virus for which we have heard that there is no cure, no treatment developed so far. But of course we can, as you say, go back to basics. Talk to us about smoking. And
the basic here is, your previous speaker, the doctor, spoke well, but I had to add cessation of smoking. We know that the virus enters through the upper respiratory, through our ears, our eyes, nose and throat. And it eventually causes greatest damage if it enters the lung. And smoking, Kabu, of anything, tobacco use of any sort, but especially smoking, will damage our lungs. And I don't want our young people to feel that because they're young and strong, they will overcome the virus. If they smoke or are passive smokers, in other words, they are in an environment of smokers, they are at risk.
Wow. But young people, you're saying?
Yes.
I want to hold that for a minute. And also to say, you're talking about young people in an environment where there is smoking, so you're talking about secondhand smoking. But at the workplace, that obviously would be an issue for workers also, where there's smoking in the workplace.
Yes. Anywhere, they should avoid as much as possible. Just as we are invoking distancing, they must distance themselves from smoking. And those who are smokers should really stop. I know the addiction to nicotine is a serious problem, but this should help them to get some willpower or to seek help to stop smoking.
Also now, back to the young people, because I note now that with the decriminalization of ganja, that a lot of young people, young boys in particular, are smoking ganja on the campuses, on the street side, everywhere you go, everybody got them and them smoke ganja. So it's smoking of
so
anything. Wow.
They are putting themselves at risk. So it's not just the persons with chronic diseases such as diabetes and so on, but the young person who is smoking is endangering his lungs. The evidence is out that the persons who smoke, whether young or old, are at greater risk to suffer the complications of the COVID-19.
Right. We're not hearing much about this. I'm thanking you so much for making that input. We really needed to underscore that, because that is a problem here in Jamaica, smoking.
That's right. So our young people, I really encourage them because it's of great concern. Elsewhere, when you read the literature from the other countries, Italy, etc., they likely, whenever you see the young people succumbing, you look at smoking, look at the older persons too, who have chronic lung disease because of smoking. And one final thing that I did not hear your doctor say, we must keep up our physical activity even though we may be at home. still do your housework, your up and down, walk around the house. Physical activity also builds our immune system to fight the virus.
You know that this is critical because, you know, and I'm going to speak from my own personal experience, and I think that a lot of people might be going through the same thing I'm going through. So, yes, you're moving around and you're doing work around the house. But, you know, I'm thinking, should I go for a walk? And one of the things, airborne.
No, it's not airborne that way. Not unless you walk right behind somebody who sneezes, Kabu.
But that's what I'm thinking. I'm saying that then, suppose somebody had just passed and
no,
it sneezed.
You didn't see them, it's not there.
Okay.
However, if you heard it sneeze, maybe.
So keep up the exercise. Walk if you can. If you're living in a community where you can walk. If you can't walk in your community, then do what?
Let's talk about persons who can't walk in the community. Walk around your house. Go up and down the steps.
Right.
And for the disabled or those who are confined to chairs, can I tell you, there's so many YouTubes that show you, give you a good 20, 30 minutes workout right there in the chair.
Yes.
You can just lift your knees, lift your arms, hold 2 pounds of sugar or flour in your either hands. You need to build your muscles physically against that virus.
Right. Exercise is important. You know, I've been thinking about this, Pauline, that, you know, it seems to me as if those persons who are really living hand to mouth and those persons who are living in depraved areas and deprived communities, that they are, you know, and we are Jamaica. You know, we talk about social distancing. I say it's a political term because we are socially distant anyway. But I'm thinking about you know, you say stay at home, but how do these people eat? I mean, how do they feed their children? You say social distances, but how do they stay off the public transportation, for example, because they're going to have to go find it and so on. And then it comes down to this idea of exercise. We're talking about exercise. They're thinking about where do I get the next meal from? And this is a majority of Jamaican people, Dr. Williams Green.
Correct.
So what do we say to them?
We have to manage. And we have to eat. Food is most important to build our immune system. And in our communities where there are many persons, 8 persons per room, etc., the thing though, we must act as a unit. So if you, rather than fighting against each other, if they work together, and so they protect themselves as a unit. And look out for,
how
they have to do it.
And look out for your neighbor. But if you say stay 2 or 3 feet away from your neighbor, how do you help your neighbor? I mean, you know, if I was thinking of taking a package to somebody on the weekend, or would need it, you know, and then I said, but you know, but how do I do this? Do I go leave it on the veranda and call and say me left something on your veranda? I mean, we're afraid of each other.
I know, but I am glad we're changing the term social distancing. It's physical.
Physical,
it's not
yes.
social.
Of course.
We must remain one. We must continue to have community. Otherwise, we can't fight this virus. We have to fight it together.
So I saw a picture on the social media, and I know, you know, you weren't supposed to stay so long, but look here, we have you. But it's just for another minute. I saw a picture on the social media that my friend Kwame Pianke put up in a community in America, where a table was put out in a front yard, a little bit away from the front door, and all kinds of food on it, and then a note was tagged to it saying, "Free, take what you want." And I thought, wow. Could we do that anywhere in Jamaica? This is an idea in your neighborhood, or in a neighborhood. I don't know, but we need to help each other. That's what I'm saying, because a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people are already laid off. I know that Jamaican people are having a difficult time, but how do we help each other? How do we find each other to help each other? Everybody lock up on them house. I took care of Missy this morning.
No, we have to help each other. As you said, there are many who cannot go out and do the hustle. But in any case, there are hardly any cars on the road sometimes for them to get what they're used to. So we have to give. I would suggest, that was a good example.
Yes.
putting out things on a table. The churches who have to be closed, they can put a table in front of the church door too, and they put stuff on the table.
Yes, that is something to do. Thank you so much, Dr. Pauline Williams Green, family physician. Say hello to the husband, Dr. Lloyd Dubin Green.
My pleasure.
All right, okay. Dr. Pauline Williams Green there, thanking her so much and reiterating that smoking, we don't want to forget that, is not something that we should be doing right now, especially young people. Let me talk to you, because so many of you have taken up smoking. You are at risk for SARS-CoV-2. All right. Time on IRFM 8:45. It's time now for the local and international headlines. Now, 8 minutes going up to 9 o'clock. You're inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running African. Thank you so much for joining us inside of the forum this morning. Special COVID-19 program, SARS-CoV-2. SARS-CoV-2. It's not a new virus. Nothing new about it. It's been around for a very, very long time. Coronavirus, they also call it that. Still not new. Doesn't matter what they call it. It is still not new. But we're looking at the global reset inside of the program this morning, and looking at the word corona, which means crown, and talking about the fact that there is, as of now, nothing has been developed to cure or to treat COVID-19. But we know that we can, because the body can fight viruses naturally. We just have to treat the body right. And we've been talking about that all morning, even while we're talking about the global reset. And before I go back to the global reset, let me just quickly talk a little bit about vaccines, because, as you know, the vaccine, and we've had many conversations, even with David Icke. We've interviewed over the years many times in this space, David Icke and so many others, Stephen Lanka, Dr. Sali, Dr. Nancy Turner Banks, and so many other, about vaccines, right? One thing we know is that they don't need an excuse for vaccine. They don't. You've been getting vaccines all kinds of ways. In many countries, from your born, there's a lot of things you can't do without getting a vaccine. So the vaccine thing is done. They don't need an excuse. Remember how we demonstrated against the HPV the other day, the HPV vaccine? Well, they're still giving it to the girls in the high schools. They're still going there and giving it to the girls, and the teachers are silent. So this is why I'm saying it's not about the vaccine, and I'm not rejecting any point of view. I'm just saying, let us talk about this. It's a little bigger than the vaccine, because we're seeing the markets crashing, right? They're not going to crash no market for no vaccine. We see economies across the world being cancelled. Wiped out. We see the globe grinding to a halt. And so that we've been talking all morning about this new financial paradigm. And I agree with those from Bitcoin and other places who talk about this new financial paradigm, this global financial reset, which is a war. And this is why both Donald Trump and Macron and the Italian Prime Minister and the Canadian Prime Minister listen closely, because they're all saying the same thing. They use the same terms. One, this is a war. This is an invisible war. The war is in progress and the enemy is invisible. Yes, the enemy is invisible. It is a war. It is a war. And that is true, because there's another thing that they refer to as a war. And I'm going to tell you what that is, hopefully before the program is out, which is part of the global financial reset. And And they were expecting this war for a long, 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 long time.
This train.
So we know that the vaccine is a product and it's made from virus, or it is made from bacteria that are killed or weakened. We've had many conversations about that. Or they're products or surface protein that when this is taken by any individual, it may cause a mild reaction, but usually not the disease. Although we have had some discussions about the HPV, remember? So the aim is that antigen in the vaccine will stimulate the body's own immune system to recognize the virus or the bacteria and to produce antibodies that will destroy them should the individual become infected. So that is how the vaccine works. What we've been saying all morning is that your own properly functioning immune system is integral to the effectiveness of the vaccine, just the same. So then it is vitally important to strengthen, to boost our own immune system so we don't need no vaccine.
So many things to forget, but these words, they do linger deep within my soul.
So you want to pay some attention now to the digital currency. Remember, we're talking about that. Pay some attention, serious attention to the central banks and the digital currency, because this is where the war is. The war is among the bankers and the financial planners and the Illuminati. I said it. Yes, I said it because I don't know who they are. It's an invisible enemy. And everybody telling us that it's an invisible enemy and we think it's COVID them talking. They're not. Look here. If COVID is an invisible enemy, then influenza is an invisible enemy. Then HIV is an invisible enemy. And we have another virus? Do you get the point I'm making? They're coding each other. So the invisible enemy is not a virus. The president of, and let me say something here, right? Because this is a global reset. And I spoke earlier this morning about the media. Remember, I spoke about the media and manufacturing consent. And I told you that the politicians are low base player. They're not even reach on the ladder. They're just doing. Listen to them talk. What they're saying really is that this crisis, they cannot afford to waste it. So here's a chance now for them to do what they've always wanted to do but couldn't do. So they are using they're seeing this as a perfect opportunity, right, to do needs. And please tell Andrew Holness and him brethren them said no needs. And tell Peter Phillips and fee him brethren them and sistering them the same thing too, because remember, they are both on the same side with this. And I know that they both think that this is too good an opportunity to waste, and this is where needs is coming in, but over with. Okay. We will live for liberty. So listen let me point out something to you. You see, one of the reasons why I'm saying that the corona is a favored virus of the crown. I'm gonna ask you to walk with me on something. So follow the power. Follow the power. So we hear that there is a virus. The British government saying that they're participating in, they're responding to it through herd immunity. We described herd immunity last week. If you don't understand what it is, look it up. Herd immunity. All right, because we don't have any time to go over it now. And so initially, Boris Johnson was just not there. He was absent. He was just waiting for people to die because they would cancel themselves out. That's what herd immunity is. And what did Queen Elizabeth do? The head of the monarchy. What did Queen Elizabeth do? Anybody? Anybody at all? What the monarchy did in England, the head of the monarchy, she got in her car. They called the media she drove away from Buckingham Palace and she told the media she was leaving Buckingham Palace because she did not want to get SARS-CoV-2. And we saw her in her car driving away from Buckingham Palace, saying that she was going to Windsor to protect herself. What happened after that? Corona, the favored virus of the crown. What happened after that? Right after that, Boris Johnson buckled, come out with the people around him, looking haggard and all, and said this was a very serious thing and they're going to have to change the herd mentality, the herd immunity thing. And so they flip. Right? Pay attention to that. The other thing that happened, as we talk about corona, the favored virus of the crown. So here we had Boris Johnson refusing to now he's flipped though, but he's refusing to close the schools. He's refusing to lock down England. And he's just making, the Queen mad. This is how I read it. Because what did Queen Elizabeth do? Again. Remember how the monarchy functions. They get involved in nothing. Even when people were saying that the Queen said that she favored Brexit. She didn't say anything like that, They were setting her up. She didn't even respond. Remember that. She doesn't respond to anything. That's not how she has governed or ruled or sat on the throne for all her life. So one time she responded to coronavirus already. Big, it made the headlines everywhere in the world that Queen Elizabeth, this 90-odd-year-old woman, had left Buckingham Palace, gone to protect herself in Windsor because this thing was so bad. And then Boris Johnson flipped. But he wouldn't go all the way. What did Queen Elizabeth do?
Don't carry no backslider.
In the words of Amilcar Cabral, speak truth to the people. What did Queen Elizabeth do? She sent out a press release. Remember that. She sent out a press release saying that this was a time of great uncertainty and change. That's a signal again, a global reset, a time of great uncertainty and change. And that press release was posted and reposted all over the world. And then Boris Johnson closed the schools and so on and so forth. But there's another thing. I'm not making any assertion, but I'm just saying. So Donald Trump came out and he says, we're going to be over this by Easter. Everybody's going to be in Sunday church because they say people know what I'm going to. Remember, I tell you, and Trump know what I'm going to. Everybody's going to be in church by Easter and so on. And Boris Johnson, is still saying, well, we think that we can get over this quickly and so on and so forth. Well, Prince Charles announced that he had the virus. And what did Trump do? Walked back from the Easter thing, didn't he? And then Boris Johnson announced that he had the virus, but he was still doing his thing from his living room and so on and so forth, and a top number 11, not number 10. I am saying all of this, and it might sound flippant, to say corona is a favored virus of the crown, to say COVID-19 is a global reset, and it's a time of great uncertainty and change, just like Queen Elizabeth Tellway. Why is it that when they're telling us what they're doing, we're refusing to listen? We're so engaged in saying, because there must be something else behind it. They are doing it out in the open. Andrew Holness is doing it out in the open. The Attorney General of Jamaica, Marlene Malahoo Fort, is doing it out in the open. She said to us, we have to be making decisions can I play them? We have to be making decisions in real time. We don't have any time to be looking at niceties. She's calling the Constitution niceties. And we're standing aside and fiddling our thumbs like Nero while Rome burns, while they deny us of all of our rights. The media is complicit. The media is manufacturing consent for whatever is coming. So the digital currencies, and watch China, because China has already rolled out its digital currency. Watch Tunisia, and this is why I'm saying Africa, even though the Arabs are totally involved. And do you not realize that Russia is a country that is backing the Tunisia digital currency? That's why they're telling you it's a war. It's an invisible enemy. It is called digital currency. But I'm going to explain it to you because it's connected right back to the central bank and interest rates and the entire world. Your money is worth nothing. It is simple. Your money, your cash money, is worth trash in a little while. I'm getting ahead of myself. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, sold all of his stocks. Right? That happened like one day before the coronavirus thing. Bill Gates stepped down from his company like 2 days or 3 days. If you look at the date between January 20 and February 28, you'll find that 10 CEOs, not 19 like you're hearing, 10 CEOs stepped away from their jobs. Some of the richest people in the world stepped down. I'm looking for it because I should have it here. But all right, let me find that, because you see, we want to talk about the digital currency, but we also want to look at the global reset, and we want to say, I just deleted something. All right. All right, Bill Gates stepped down. Let me go there. No, all right. So the CEOs who have stepped down, 10 of them, right, stepped down from their jobs, including, by the way, Bill Gates. And we saw what Jeff Bezos did. And they were saying that, nothing is wrong with it. But it's happening right in front of our eyes. And it is what it is. All right, so on December 31, 2019, Chinese authorities alerted the world. This is a story published by Reuters. So this is Reuters saying this. On December 31, 2019, Chinese authorities alerted the World Health Organization to a number of pneumonia-like cases in the city of Wuhan, the capital of China's Hubei province. By January 9, 2020, the WHO had declared the outbreak a new type of coronavirus. On January 21, 2020, the first U.S. case was reported in Seattle, Washington. Now, between December 31, 2019 and February 28, the CEO of Disney stepped down. Walt Disney's company stepped down. Chief Executive Officer. Right? And this, of course, is being reported by Reuters. On January 31, 2020, the CEO of Hulu, Randy Freer, stepped down. This is no conspiracy theory, This is what it is. All right. On January 30, 2020, the CEO of IBM stepped down. All right. On February 5, 2020, the CEO of LinkedIn stepped down. Remember now that LinkedIn is also connected to Bill Gates. So don't miss that point. And Warren Buffett. By February 25, 2020, the CEO of Salesforce Velocity stepped down. By February 12, 2020, the CEO of MGM stepped down. All right. And by February 25, you see how many of them stepped down on February 25? Something, all right. By February 25, 2020, the CEO of MasterCard stepped down. By February 20, 2020, the CEO of Victoria's Secret, Bed Bath and Body Works stepped down. By February 28, 2020, The CEO of Harley Davidson stepped down. All right? By January 28, 2020, the CEO of Tinder, OkCupid, Hinge, Match Group stepped down. Right? I don't have a time to connect all of them back to their digital currency, but I can connect Bill Gates right now for you because he went straight into the arms of China, didn't he? China has already rolled out the digital currency. Africa, Tunisia, has partnered with Russia to roll out. So here we have now participating, and Tunisia was the first one to roll out the digital currency in terms of resetting how we view wealth, how we view money, how we view just everything, because everything is connected back to that, isn't it? So Tunisia is the first. Now we have China has rolled out, but here is another big problem. The CEO of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, is also rolling out his digital currency. China has said to Mark Zuckerberg that you are not a country, and so that you can't beat us on this. The Financial Times, and I have to find that, the Financial Times, in their investigations recently, found that China had applied for 4 patents. And this is what alerted the world to what was happening. Those 4 patents for digital currency, China acquired those 4 patents, owning the world. Now, I need to find that story. But it's in the Financial Times, just in case you need to look for it. So China applied for those 4 patents and got them. And this is where the whole thing started falling apart, you see. And so the coronavirus, when China came out the other day and said it was sent to China by America, and America says China started and so on, and everybody talking about it's a war, and they're using the language of war, and they have, in America, the defense funding bill, and in Russia, they're very tight-lipped about what's really happening, but they are working closely with Tunisia, and Facebook is in the middle of all of this. Britain, last week, last week, Britain has now said, the UK has now said that digital future is a way to go for the Bank of England. Last week, March 12th. Digital future is a way to go for the Bank of England. You know, for all of this to happen, they have to break down the whole economy. That is why the markets are crashing. But not only that, you know, this is the biggest bubble that we have ever seen. So let me go to Britain. So the Bank of England is considering the introduction of electronic banknotes for use by consumers and businesses. This is being reported by the BBC on March 12th. Governor Mark Carney said, "We are in the middle of a revolution." Just listen to the language these people are using. They're all at war. We are in the middle of a revolution in payments, saying the bank must look into how electronic money could work. But do you realize what has happened? Britain is behind China. Britain is behind Facebook. Britain is behind Tunisia. Even Algeria, Egypt, and Libya are ahead of Britain. And the US is also behind China, Russia, and Facebook. This is a war, and it is a war for control. And this war has an invisible enemy, and its name is digital currency. It's a perfect opportunity for the world's financial planners also to cover their past sins of mega bubbles, unsustainable inflation, and debt creation. So they are wiping the slate clean. Where do we as African peoples stand in all of this? Where do we as African peoples stand in all of this? Digital surveillance control is the name of the war. They say it's an invisible enemy. Central banks' digital currencies are actively being developed, CBDCs. China's version of a digital currency, the digital yuan, is already complete and is in the testing phase. Why are we all of a sudden so trusting of a state for leadership? They are manufacturing consent. This crisis is too important to be wasted. So we see a system-wide overhaul. I said before, they're doing something about us without us. We have to get into this race. The central bankers and the financial planners, they agree on the global reset. That is what we have to know. They agree on this global reset. The politicians are mere pawns. Corona is a virus of the crown. So we're asking ourselves, do we the people have a fundamental right to privacy? Did the framers of the Constitution intend to make the right to privacy a fundamental right? Because you can't have the digital currency without NIDS or something looking like it. And that is why in India, let me see if I can find this story. That is why in India, so China digital currency, Tunisia digital currency, in India, the Central Bank of China official says digital yuan will be yuan, that is yuan, that's how it's pronounced. In India, the headlines in one of the newspapers in April 2017. In April 2017 in India. India is where the gay, by the way. It says, fork over your fingers or cease to exist. India's biometric blackmail. Fork over your fingers or cease to exist. And the story says, imagine the government being able to track your every move. If you purchase an air ticket or a plane ticket, if you filed your taxes, if you purchase a bottle of LPG, or even if you were the receiver of benefits from the state, imagine not being able to travel or file your taxes if you did not want to be tracked. Well, that's what NIDS is, you know. But NIDS is important for the digital currency. NIDS is important for the digital reset. NIDS is important for the global financial reset. So who has our interest at heart? We cannot waste a crisis, says our Prime Minister. Rahm Emanuel said, you never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, he says, is an opportunity to do things that you think you couldn't do before. I played the clip earlier. He went on to say that in virtually every area of governance, major crisis provides opportunities for regulators to make bold moves in implementing otherwise controversial policies. So the crisis of COVID-19, the crisis provides the opportunity for us to do things that you could not do before. My brother Akeem, you know, so we're talking about the digital reset, and I was supposed to be talking to you about food safety and security. But hold on for me, my brother, until next week. I will come to you because we really wanted to get through this, and I know you understand, Akeem Dobson. Love you, my brother. We'll talk to you next week. At the current stage, the central bank's major goal of issuing digital currency is to replace the physical cash. If everyone is holding cash, negative interest rates become useless. This is according to the former People's Bank of China governor, Zhu Chaochun. He said, and I'm going to read it again, at the current stage, the central bank's major goal of issuing digital currency is to replace a physical cash. If everyone is holding cash, negative interest rates become useless. Who talk a lot about negative interest rates? Donald Trump. You have to go and research that. And so the only way for them to beat the mess that they have created is through a global reset. And so they are erasing the debt record. Look what's happening in Canada. Canada is paying everybody. More people have died in Canada of the flu than dying of coronavirus. More people have died in America of the flu than dying of coronavirus. In Italy, it looks the way it looks, and it's as bad as it is, but they have similar numbers with the flu. We're going to have to start asking ourselves some questions, I know, and you might hear soon them say them test me test for coronavirus, I'm a positive, and then put me in a quarantine. That takes us back to the media. Because one of the notions that the media operates on is that if you challenge the status quo, then you get flack. And flack means anything. So ancestors come.
The children of Jah. This train.
We are in the middle of a revolution in payments. This is according to Mark Carney. Mark Carney is a governor of the Bank of England. He said this on March 12, 2020. So they're crashing markets all around the world. They're cancelling out all the economies. Everything is grinding to a halt, and they're saying, do not go out. You see, if we talk about this too much, we're going to want to protest. And we can't raise our fist, can we, in the way that we should, if we're separated from each other. What kind of protest can you have when you're all locked away in your homes? That's another thing. When since we trust the leaders to tell us about ourselves. Many analysts have agreed on this, that the global reset is decided with a focus on digital surveillance, control, and unmitigated printing powers, that the central bank's digital currencies are actively being developed. We know for one thing that China's version of a digital currency is already complete, and that testing is taking place. It's an invisible enemy. Now, we were reading from the BBC, but you can follow up on that. I'm going to tell you about Tunisia when we come back from this break.
Thank you, Prime Minister. My fellow Jamaicans at home and abroad, and friends of Jamaica, we continue to be in challenging times. We are monitoring and managing a crisis that is unprecedented. I would like to just use the opportunity to say that I see the debate is raging in the public space about the constitutionality of the measures that we have taken. Be assured that debate is also taking place internally within the government. I want to let you know that for every action we have taken, especially as those actions relate to the rights of our people, they are limited to containing the spread of this contagious disease, and they're also limited in time. So let the debates rage, but be assured that those of us who are here in government, especially the Prime Minister and his team, we have to take actions in real time to deal with issues that are unfolding before us. We don't have the luxury of sitting down and getting into niceties, but we must carefully consider what we're doing and be assured that is what we have done.
Now, if you watch the press conference, you know what's happening there. Even if you didn't watch it, you can hear from what the Attorney General of Jamaica said. They don't have the luxury of sitting down and getting into niceties. It's interesting because my understanding of what she meant, of what she was saying, that the niceties were directly related to sitting down and getting into anything that had to do with the Constitution. So this is where I have a problem. We have some public health martial law business going on here, and if we look at the potential public health actions and the steps to be taken during coronavirus, I think you can find it on the website of the WHO. They have level 1, right, which they tell us about increasing hand washing, hygiene, cough etiquette, keeping the distance from others, and so on. Then level 2, voluntary isolation of those sick, voluntary quarantine of those who have interacted with those sick. Then there's level 3, involuntary isolation of those sick, involuntary quarantine of those who have interacted with those sick. I'm reading this, you see, because this is martial law, and we are consenting to all of it. We are sheeple. We have sat down and we are consenting to everything. We are not questioning anything. We have explicit trust in the state, which we have never trusted before. All those who were anti-establishment, all of a sudden establishment. Them tell us that's how it go, and that's how it go. And we are not questioning what is happening. And yet, we also heard the Attorney General. They are making decisions in real time. They are doing something about us without us. They don't have the time for niceties because there is a virus out there and it's killing people and it's coming for us. And so we must give up every single right that we have and set a precedent and probably never get it back and get NIDS. We're going to be clamoring for NIDS. Do you remember when a question was asked of the Prime Minister at one of the press conferences? He said, I am happy when the airport was closed down. I think it was a journalist from CVM who asked him. Remember that presser? He said, I'm happy you asked that because we would prefer if you ask us to do it or to say to us, and I'm paraphrasing him, or to say to us, why haven't you done this earlier? Because sometimes you want to do it, but, and then him kind of trail off. But basically what he was saying, the people will ask to be quarantined. The people will ask for NIDS. Because how else are they're going to collect the money that the Illuminati is throwing at Jamaica? How else are they going to get access to that money? The people are going to clamor for NIDS. The people are going to clamor for their rights to be taken away. This crisis is too good, too big, too important of a crisis to go to waste. So you have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4.
This train don't carry
level 4. Right. Order cancellation of major public and large private gatherings. Order closure of schools, childcare facilities, workplaces, and public buildings. Every single country is playing from this playbook. Level 5, restrict non-emergency travel outside of a home. Establish a cordon sanitaire, a guarded line preventing anyone from leaving an area infected by the disease. Papa Jesus.
the children of Jah. This train,
that's level 5.
it is bound to glory.
Global martial law, and we are walking into it with our eyes closed. How many people dead? How many people? And we are pontificating about too many things and not standing up and asking about our rights in all of this. They have already separated us from our grandparents and our parents. They've separated us from our dead. They have separated us from our loved ones. Our loved ones are dying alone and are being buried by video.
Deep within my soul.
How is it that the world has come to trust the system in the way that we're trusting the system. There is something out there. Something is in the woods. It's called coronavirus, and it is killing people. That is true. Flu is also out there. 500,000 people die in the United States alone every year from flu. If the media was to cover flu in the way they cover the coronavirus, we would be hiding under our beds right now. A virus is a virus is a virus. Boost your immune system, exercise, get sunlight, do what you need to do because it is out there and it really is out there. But the media, the fourth estate, the most powerful of them all, providing, manufacturing the consent. Manufacturing the consent. The media is not objective, has never been objective, never on the side of a little man. Remember what I took you through this morning? The media operates through 5 filters. 1, ownership, which goes to profit, and that's the bottom line. 2, advertising, and the advertisers. Advertising and advertisers in media is different from any other thing. They pay for you. When an advertiser pays a media any money, they're not paying for a product. They're paying for you. They're buying the audience. You are the ones they buy. So the media operates on 5 filters. 1 is ownership, 1 is advertising and the advertisers paying for the audience. 2 is the media elite, those who keep the narrative going on behalf of the corporations and the Illuminati. 4, flack, those who challenge the media are inconvenient. They are discredited, they are killed, they are given coronavirus, they are fired. And 5, a common enemy, a boogeyman to fear. Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb, ISIS, COVID-19. And this is how the media operates. The media is owned and controlled by multinational corporations. Profit is the bottom line, and the media manufactures the consent. So basically what we have here is all of us turned into the media, and we believe everything we're told, and all of a sudden we can't miss a press conference, and they know that. And the politicians, on the other hand, are pawns. Now, Tunisia is making a feasibility study to launch the e-dinar this year, 2020. They launched it already, by the way, 2020. All right, 2020, Tunisia. And this is a central bank digital currency, the e-dinar. They're doing this, by the way, with Russia. This is how Russia comes into the war. The project was announced during the ceremony of the creation of the Forex Maghreb Association. The Forex Maghreb Association. Look that up too. This new structure will operate according to a clear roadmap while working to create the encrypted currency. The vice president of Forex Maghreb noted that Tunisia plans to digitize its currency. However, the project is still under study by the central bank and its partners. Now, Tunisia has already digitized the currency, but had to pull back when they came under pressure from the Western world. But Tunisia's currency has already been rolled out, already been digitized, and they're doing what they're doing along with Russia. The only television station that I could find, or media house, radio or TV, that reported on what Tunisia has been doing is CGTN, China Global Television Network. There's a reason for this. Let's join CGTN.
The vice president of Forex Maghreb noted that Tunisia plans to digitize its currency in the future. However, the project is still under study by the central bank and its partners.
It is too early to talk about e-dinar. Tunisia is working step by step and has the ambition to accelerate the process. However, we are not yet ready. In May 2018, Tunisia hosted the African Blockchain Summit, and the central bank made it clear that cryptocurrency is at a stage of reflection.
Experts added that using cryptocurrency will have many advantages and boost the national economy.
We are inspired by China that prepares to launch a central bank digital currency. Our target behind using cryptocurrency is to combat the parallel market and tax evasion in Tunisia.
The new currency could have North African dimensions and contribute to boosting growth in Tunisia and resolving some of the difficulties hindering North African cooperation, such as customs and political obstacles.
The initiative is interesting, but the central bank should consider the advantages and disadvantages of cryptocurrency on a national and regional level.
Tunisia launched an initiative a year ago to reactivate relations between Maghreb banks. In this regard, central bank governors in the region have begun to work on several areas, including understanding the technological development of the electronic payment sector, financial inclusion through new technologies, and analysis of financial institutions. The Central Bank of Tunisia is currently studying ways of monitoring the various technological developments in the financial and monetary sectors while preserving the national currency and working to achieve electronic payment integration. Adnan Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
The bottom line is that whatever is going to be done is already being done. So I am talking about something that is already in process. This is where I'm going to meet with those persons who have been pointing to 5G technology. Because 5G technology operates, the system we're talking about, the digital currency, operates best with the 5G technology. I also want to read from CNBC.com reporting on February 13, 2020 at 1:11 a.m. And they say Jeff Bezos, you hear the date? February 13. Jeff Bezos has been cashing out Amazon stock, nearly 4.1 billion worth of shares in the past 11 days. Why the haste, Jeff? Why the haste? 4.1 billion worth of shares in the past 11 days. The Amazon CEO sold 579.8 million worth of shares on Friday, according to filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission. That's after he sold 1.65 billion worth of shares last Tuesday and Wednesday, as well as unloaded 1.8 billion worth of shares between January 31 and February 3, according to the SE filings. They say the transactions were made as part of a prearranged trading plan, but we don't know about that. Either way, it could have been prearranged because there are those who know what they're doing. So what we're talking about is already in motion, is already happening. I am saying to us as African people, where do we stand in this process? What conversations are we having? Are we looking to North Africa, to Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, and so on, because they're way out? Or are we just going to be slaves to this system? Because this is what is going to happen. It's a global reset. It really is not so much of a big deal, you know, but it really is a big deal if you're not prepared for it. So it's a global reset of the financial system, which is going to make it a global reset, of course, of the political system. We're seeing power shifting, and that is why it's a war, because America is hell-bent on winning this war. But they're having a problem with this war because China is out of the blocks. And so too is Tunisia with Russia and Brazil and Venezuela. I forgot those countries. So there's some countries that are out of the blocks ahead of the United States. And it is a Financial Times story, which I can't find right now, which I'm going to search for, that I think is important and relevant to this, because it wasn't until they buck up on the patents that China filed for on the same day as the outbreak of the coronavirus. Do you understand this? China filed for 4 patents for digital currency, And China tell you what they're going to do with the world. There's going to be a change. They've said that. If you follow China politics and the conversations there, it's a change. They have nothing now to do with the paper situation and the way banks are set up and the way people live generally. So they've moved on from that, and they're going to be launching this, and they have already launched this. So the question then is, why are they all saying it's a war and the enemy is invisible? It is because it is. All right, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running African. I was playing this one especially for my brothers and sisters in North Africa, you know. Tunisia is important because if you remember 2008, that is where the so-called Arab Spring started. Now, everything is connected, you know. Tunisia is part of the Forex Maghreb. Do you understand this? This is where Hillary Clinton told us that they had to bomb Libya because Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb was involved somewhere up there. So, and we knew that there was we know still that was, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot, but it really is a global reset, and every continent is involved. And where the continents are dragging their feet and the countries are dragging their feet and they're not getting involved, then, you know, Italy and Spain is your thing. Jamaica is playing the game, and that is why the Miami Herald says Jamaica is doing very well, because Jamaica is playing the game by the book. But the current administration, the JLP administration in Jamaica, is a dictatorship. They might not be doing it totally right now, but they're heading towards that. And so Jamaica is heading towards a dictatorship if we don't stop it. Because if the Attorney General can call the Constitution niceties, I don't know how we're going to sit down and take that. Where are the voices? Where are the voices? Are they going, what, is a slavery thing? This what you call it, slavery? So we're going to stand up like Chief Tachi. It's simple. We're going to have to stand like Chief Tachi. And we know where the plantations are. Right? Even when coronavirus on our backs, our ancestors went through more than that on the ships, and they fought and survived. So do not give up your rights. Don't trust the state. You have never trusted the state. How come you start trusting the state? You don't have no thinking mind for yourself. What about your deep thinking? We're African people. We're deep thinkers. We're critical thinkers. And we're not just going to think and write it on Facebook, because not everything we need to put on Facebook either. Because Mark Zuckerberg have him digital currency too. And now he's in a war with China, because China has said to him, listen, you're a boy, you're not a country. And so this war is not going to be won by you. So there's a war. It's an invisible enemy. Listen to what they're saying. They've all said it. Every single leader. Find them tape. Find the thing. Type in the invisible enemy, coronavirus. And you see how many people said it. The first person who made a very long speech about it was the president of France, Macron. Ask yourself this. Where is all this money coming from that they are throwing at the different countries? 2 trillion, 3 trillion. These people are speaking in trillion and billion. Jamaica, look at Jamaica, so we are talking all 25 billion too. We're not ordinary, we're trying the billion game too. Where is all this money come from? People talking about IMF, no. They are getting rid of all of that money. It is worth nothing in a little time. You're going to get it. It's NIDS. That's going to matter. So all that money is expendable. I'm calling upon the banks, while we're at it, and thank you, Christopher Binns, for posting this online, to cancel all loans or put all loans on hold for 3 months, the same 3 months for government have we in a quarantine, to cancel or put on hold all loans, all credit card loans, all car loans, all mortgages, because the Jamaican people cannot afford. They don't have any work, all the businesses have closed, and the government is throwing money into the system. So you can't expect where people are getting half pay or no pay that they can pay their car loans, their mortgages, and so on. The banks must. Did anybody hear anything from the banks, or am I the only one who don't hear? What have we heard from the banks? Everybody have loan a bank, almost. When you are work, you have a loan at the bank. Almost everybody, because that's how them set up the society, so that you can have a loan at the bank. Why put the loan? No, so now got digital currency soon with needs and everything. So why put the loan thing? All right, but seriously, the car loans, the car payments, the credit card payments, the mortgages, please, wipe them out now, or put them on hold for 3 to 6 months. I'm calling upon the Minister of Local Government, not just to feed the homeless, but to home the homeless, house the homeless. You should be ashamed of yourself, announcing about you're feeding the homeless. A society that is announcing that is feeding its homeless is not literate, not intelligent, because you shouldn't have no homeless. If there was equity and equality the way it's supposed to be, then we wouldn't have no homeless. So don't bother get up on stage and talking about to feed the homeless. It don't look good. It's embarrassing. Feed them if you want to feed them, but house the homeless. These are our people. We see them one. They are but for the grace of God. I have not heard anything from a Jamaica National or Victoria Mutual. Did I miss something? Because, sometimes I tune out. But did I miss something? Did they also put mortgages on hold, mortgage payments? What about the Jamaica Employer Federation? How are you paying your staff while they're out? Question. And I'm calling upon the media to be more responsible. I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult because a lot of us who would talk do not own media. That's why media ownership for African people is important. We don't have any satellite up there, and we might be one of the only continent that don't have a satellite up there. We don't own none of the spectrum. So China covers the continent of Africa right now. So, Africa is seeing things through the lens of China, because that's what media does. But I'm calling upon the individuals in the media to say something about what's happening and where we're going and how we're getting there. And I'm calling upon my brothers and sisters, African people, to be aware and not to just be keyboard warriors. Because when we come out of this whiteness, we're still going to be alive. We're not all going to die. And what do we own? What do we control? What are we doing so that when we come out, we are empowered? What's good for us, the positive in all of this is that it's a reset. They're wiping out everything. They're crashing economies. They're making the money worthless. The dollar is worth nothing, and so on. The pound is worth nothing. The stock market is crashing. People selling them stocks and so on. So they're leveling the playing field. Let us talk among ourselves about how we come out of this. Do we come out like the Rothschilds, or how are we coming out? we can come out of this on the better side of it. Healthy and ready for the new world order. Healthy and ready to look the Illuminati in the eye and say, we've heard about you for a long time. We've been talking about you for a long time. And you're still invisible, but we see you at work right now. So conspiracy theories aside, deep thinking is what we're talking about. I want to thank my broadcast assistant, Shamara Preston, who really, really was very patient with me this morning. Thank you, Shamara. I also want to thank Vivian, who's been coming inside with paper, holding up to say, you've got to do that, you know. Thank you, Vivian. I know sometimes the hosts can really get out of hand. I want to say good morning to my very good friend and sister of my heart, Rashona Fitzhenley. Good morning, Rashona. I want to say a very good morning to Professor Vereen Shepherd. Prof. Shepherd, what a brilliant program yesterday. And also, you know, on Nation, I heard Prof. Shepherd's program yesterday. I didn't know that the bastard we call Columbus actually landed in St. Mary first and not St. Anne. And we're not claiming that really, as Prof. Shepherd said. What we're doing, though, is understanding why that place is called St. Mary. And I know that Prof. Shepherd has launched an initiative to change the name of St. Mary. And so if you go to her Facebook page, if you go to her social media feeds, you will see that I support this 100%. I accept the challenge, Professor Shepherd, that you threw out yesterday on your program, that we're going to have to work together on this. I am ready and willing. I think the name of St. Mary should be changed also, and that I agree with those who are talking to you right now that it should be changed to a Taino name, and male or female, as you have been saying. So I agree with that. Also, what a wonderful program yesterday. Thank you so much for that, Professor Shepherd. So thank you to all those who participated in the program this morning. Thanks to Jabi, to Asti, to Batset, to Dr. Pauline Williams-Green, to Dr. Tatiana Berg, to Dr. Eric Burke, to Akeem, Akeem, my brother, Akeem. You know, there's some of your big brethren already. We talk to you next week. So Akeem Dobson. Also, I want to say my apologies to Senator Carvan Gale. Well, Senator Gale, we'll link with you again. We really needed to get out this morning. COVID-19, the global reset. Corona, the favored virus of the crown. SARS-CoV-2, how the coronavirus is being used to justify a global